All right, we're back with the rest of the worksheets for this week. Right now, we're going to be talking about capitalizing titles. Excuse me. And this goes with worksheet number 16 that is in your packet that you'll be working on this week. As for capitalizing titles, make sure that you watch the Teacher Tools online video for Chapter 3, Part A, Lesson 23. Because she will explain all of this to you in detail, but also I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it. The first thing we're going to talk about is capitalizing titles. You capitalize the first, last, and all important words in the title of a book or a story or a poem. So the first word always is capitalized. The last word is always capitalized, and any other important words. The only words that wouldn't be capitalized would be the small words that are in the middle of the title, like the, and, of, on, little short words like that. Book titles should be underlined when you're handwriting, or put them in italics. That's that little slanted writing that we talked about before. If you're typing, if you're doing it on the computer, but if you're writing, how we do most of our writing in class, we have to write it out. If it's the title of a book, you underline it so that we know it's a book title. In number 3, the third rule is use quotation marks around the titles of stories and poems, like stories from our reading book. This week you were reading, When the Wind Blows from the South. So you would write that in quotation marks, the two little marks up at the top on each end of the title. That's for stories, like in a book, or a poem title, or titles of stories or poems. Yes, titles of stories or poems. Those are the two things. And then you capitalize names of the Bible. Of course, we call it the Holy Bible or the Bible or God's Word. Anytime you use any of those, that would be capitalized. Also, the divisions of the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, and books of the Bible, like Romans 8:28. You would capitalize Romans, the R in Romans. This week, your Bible memory verse, I believe, is still from John, so you'd capitalize John. So on your worksheet, we'll go over real briefly what you need to do on here and see if there's any that we need to go do together. In the first section, in section A, it says fill in the circle next to the book title that's written correctly. So in number 1, you've got the story of basketball or the story of basketball. Well, obviously the second one is right because the first word has to be capitalized, because it's the first word in the title, and then also the word story should be capitalized. So the second one would be the correct one there. But if you look at number 2, cowboys and cattle drives, the word and should not be capitalized. It is an unimportant word, so the second one would be correct there. And also it does need to be underlined because it is a book title. And these are all book titles in these first 4. In number 3, you've got the secret passage with quotation marks around it, and you have the secret passage written in italics. That's that slanted print right there. And we learned the rule said that a book title would be in italics, not have quotation marks around it. That would be a story. And then the Runaway Princess, the same thing. It's going to be in italics, not with quotation marks around it, because these are book titles in the first section. In the second section, you are going to fill in the circle next to the correct story title. So these are different than the top. These are stories. So these go with the rules that we talked about on that. And like I said, go back and review the Teacher Tools online video that she does with you, so that you make sure that you are getting the right rule with each section. The top section here is books. They're underlined or italicized. The next section is stories. So we put quotation marks around story titles. Number 5, friend or foe. Well, this is a story from your reading book that you're going to be reading next week in your reading. So that would be the second one. It has quotation marks around it. Number 6, naming the stars. They both have quotation marks around it. That was a story from your book that we didn't get to this year. But the word the should not be capitalized. It's an unimportant word right in the middle, so we would not capitalize it. So that would be the correct one. Number 7, a prayer for rain. The same thing. The word for is a small word. It should not be capitalized. So make sure you choose the one where the unimportant words are not capitalized. When the war is over. That's the same kind of thing. Because they both have quotation marks around it. We learned that that's how you do those. But the word the does not need to capitalize the T. The next section, you're going to fill in the circle next to the poem title that is written correctly. And in the rule that I just gave you, poem titles are like story titles. They have quotation marks around them. So number 9, the one with quotation marks will be the one that you choose. Number 10, they both have quotation marks, but we need to remember that we capitalize all important words. Big long words would be capitalized. So make sure you choose the right one there. And then in number 11, from the poem called What is Black, one of those has quotation marks around it and one of them does not. And remember, our rule said poems have quotation marks. So choose carefully as you're going through this. And then in 12 through 18, you're going to write the titles correctly depending on what they are. They give you the title, no punctuation, no capitalization or anything like that. But then it also tells you that one, the first one is a book. So for the book called Summer, it's a book title. So remember, we underline titles of books, so make sure I can see your underline, that I know you've underlined it. And make sure you capitalize first and last words. Well, that one's only 2 words, so obviously we would be capitalizing all of that. 7, at one blow. Remember, it's a story from your book. So it's not underlined, it's a story. It has quotation marks. And we don't capitalize unimportant words, but we do capitalize first and last words and any other bigger words in there. Number 14, Ella Telephone was a poem from our book, from our reading book. Poems have quotation marks. And don't forget to capitalize. The story from your book, Danger at Milner School. It's a story from a book, quotation marks. A book that you can read by Charles Dickens called A Tale of Two Cities. That's a book that you could go get from the library. So we underline book titles because we're writing these. Make sure you capitalize what should be capitalized. First words, last words, words in the middle, but not little tiny words like the or of if they're in the middle of a sentence, of a story title, a book title, I'm sorry. The poem, The Crocodile Smile, it's a poem. Don't forget we use quotation marks on poems. And the story from your book, Kit Carson and the Grizzly Bears. It's a story from your book. So make sure that you use quotation marks. And then the very last page, page 17 for this week. No, it's not the last page, is it? Let's see. Maybe it is. We've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yes, this is the last page for this week. I was getting a little confused. Is common nouns, singular and plural. This shouldn't be hard and will only take a few minutes to go over it. A noun is a person, place, or thing. A singular noun names one person, place, or thing. And a plural noun names more than one person, place, or thing. We add S to form the plural of most nouns. But we do have a rule that I'm going to go up here and show you that I want to review with you about that. Let's see where that is. Goodness. If your noun ends in an S or an SH or a CH or an X or a Z, instead of adding an S, we add ES to those. So you want to make sure that you remember that rule on those words. Also, to make that a plural, not a singular. Also, the change the Y to I rule. I'm not sure if that's up there. Oh, yes, it is. It's right here. Words like penny ends with a Y, a vowel, a consonant, and then a Y. So we change the Y to I and add ES. Now, if it ends in a vowel and a Y, we don't do that. Like toy, T-O-Y, O is a vowel. You just add an S to that because you would have too many vowels together. Remember, we said you can never have 3 vowels together in a word. But if it ends in a consonant, like the letter N and a Y, then you change the Y to I and add ES. We also have the rule, let me see if there's any more rules. I think I covered all those. If it ends in a consonant and a Y, you change the Y to I and add ES. If it ends in a vowel and a Y, you just add an S to the end of it. So that's how we make nouns plural. So if you look at your worksheet, you're going to look at the underlined noun in each sentence, and you're going to write an S if it's singular, that is if it's one of them, and you're going to write a P if it's plural. These should be fairly easy. Seagulls live at the beach. I see an S on the end of that, so obviously that would be plural. There's more than one. Sometimes they walk on the shore looking for food. The shore. The means one. Okay, so that's singular. So we would write an S for that. And you can go through and do the rest of those looking and deciding. I do want you to look at number 6 because they've underlined the wrong word for you on the worksheet. And I need to tell you that you need the word shells is what should be underlined there, not the word comes. That's a typographical error in the curriculum. So the word shells, if you take your worksheet and underline the word shells, you will have the right word underlined, and you can decide if that's singular or plural. And then 8 through 17, you're going to change the singular nouns to plural by either adding S or ES or changing the Y to I and adding ES, whatever you need to do on those. In 18, 19, and 20, you're going to select the one that's the plural that's written correctly. And then at the bottom it says for extra credit, you can write 3 sentences about your favorite meal, your thing you like to eat the most, and then circle all the plural nouns. So if you like pizza the best, or tacos the best, tacos has an S on the end, so that's plural noun. 3 sentences. You have to write all 3. You have to capitalize the beginning of your sentence. You have to add punctuation at the end of your sentence, and you have to circle all the plural nouns to get the extra credit points for doing that at the bottom of the page. So that covers everything that you'll be doing for the rest of this week. And you guys have a great rest of the week and a good weekend. And I'll see you back next week for our Zoom meeting. And then I'll be making videos to cover next week's worksheets as well. So you guys have a great week. I love you guys and miss you. See you soon. Bye.